All right, everybody, we're kicking off the third hour of the Elias Mackos Show. Hope you are enjoying your day with the trees still looking oh so beautiful from the snowstorm on Sunday and Monday. Okay, we begin this third hour by taking a look at François Legault's approval ratings. You may be happy to hear he's at an all-time low. The premier now at just a 31% approval rating. That is now the lowest across the country, and it's a 16-point drop for him in just 3 months. With more on this, plus a look at federal polling, let's go to John Rowe, Research Associate at the Angus Reid Institute. John, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me on, Elias.
So how would you describe, François Legault's bad run here when it comes to approval ratings?
Well, this is a pretty significant drop, and certainly out of line from other numbers that we've seen for him over the years. Consistently, he's been one of the most approved of premiers in Canada, especially during kind of his first term in office. And with this kind of more second go around, he's kind of seen a bit of a decline. And I think some of the issues that he's seen kind of politically in Quebec, the teacher strike, the potential general strike that's looming, the criticism over the preseason NHL games that they're hosting in Quebec City, these are all kind of piling up on Legault, and I think that's what's kind of contributing to this drop in approval.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the numbers over the various polling periods, and I take great note. So the first poll after his reelection, December 2022, that's the first poll numbers on approval we have after he was reelected. He is at 57% approval. Since then, it's like, after you go past the peak of a roller coaster, straight down to 31. It's a pretty pronounced thing. Is that, when you look across the country, and I know you also looked at the other premiers there, is that exceptional? The just how quickly he has dropped?
I think that to some extent it is a little bit surprising. I think it is difficult for premiers to kind of maintain high approval over time because as they kind of stay in office and they kind of enact policies and there's more things for people to criticize the government on, and then often a lot of the blame kind of falls at the premier's feet. And so it is kind of, I think, hard for premiers to maintain high approval ratings, but it is kind of surprising that it's kind of declined so quickly over the last couple months.
And of course, not only have the premier's approval ratings declined, we've seen support for his party decline as well. Do you have insight as to how much of it is, based on the premier? Like how much of the CAQ's popularity decline has to do with the man at the top?
I would think that probably there is quite a bit of correlation there. I think especially because Legault was such kind of a popular figure in Quebec. I think a lot of his kind of personal appeal kind of ties to the party's fortunes in a lot of ways. But with kind of all these kind of issues piling up in his second term and kind of how he's approached it seems like people are kind of dissatisfied with what they've seen. I think that those two factors are certainly tied.
You looked at all the provinces, you looked at all the premiers, and you got approval ratings from Canadians. Do you see any commonality? From the numbers you saw across the country, can you see what works with Canadians right now? Like who is being successful, and why do you think some are more successful than others right now?
Well, if you look across the country to, I guess, first kind of some of the longer term premiers, so Scott Moe, who came in the kind of the same period as Legault, and is in his second term as premier. He's still maintaining very, very high approval ratings. And I think he's kind of found what kind of messages work for the province of Saskatchewan. And his government is kind of, I think part of it is maybe positioning himself against the federal government and helping kind of use that kind of grievance to kind of stoke popularity for himself. But he seems to be very successful in Saskatchewan despite being kind of a longer term premier. Elsewhere, there's kind of premiers that have a bit more mixed reviews. So in BC, David Eby has about 46% approval rating. He's getting a lot of kind of positive impressions through his first few times, but not nearly as high as Legault had ever reached. And same with Danielle Smith in Alberta. She's about 47% approval rating. So there are some premiers out there that seem to be kind of getting closer to kind of the halfway mark or more and more closer to majority approval. But I think what they're doing is they're kind of looking at the issues that the provinces are seeing and kind of finding ways to address them in a way that people want, people like, and people understand.
We're with John Rowe, Research Associate at Angus, Reid, taking a look at recent polling of Canadians. John, I want to turn our attention to federal vote intentions. It's not just Angus, Reid. All of the polling firms have shown a significant gap and a lead for the Conservatives over the Liberals. What are you seeing in your latest polling at Angus, Reid? Where are Canadians right now if they had to go to the polls today?
Yeah, our most recent poll was released just last month in November, just a couple of weeks ago. And we had the Conservatives with 41% of vote intent, the Liberals with 27%, and the NDP with 20%, and then the Bloc Québécois with 7%. So we've seen basically kind of the Conservatives rise as well as the Liberals kind of fall at the same time. So there's a gap between the two that seems to be growing. And I think one of the biggest factors is there's just quite a bit of fatigue with Justin Trudeau right now. We did a poll in September asking Canadians whether or not they thought he should step down as leader before the next election, and a majority of Canadians believe that he should. So I think a lot of it has to do with that, and I think there's quite a few Canadians who are dealing with these tough economic circumstances, these rising cost of living, that are kind of putting the blame at the feet of the Trudeau Liberals, whether or not they deserve all of the blame, but people see them as part of the issue, maybe not necessarily part of the solution.
On the fatigue front, right? I sometimes laugh because if things are great, nobody gets fatigued, right? So I want to take it to what's going wrong. You brought up the economic stuff. And housing. Over the weekend, of course, we saw focus on social media on housing from Pierre Poilievre and from Justin Trudeau with varying degrees of success. I think Pierre Poilievre is getting some traction with his Housing Hell video. How much is housing weighing on Canadians right now when they're figuring out who to support at the polls?
I think that has to be a big factor. We see it. We ask kind of what the top issues Canadians are feeling, and housing affordability has risen to be in third place across the country behind the rising cost of living and healthcare. And so a lot of Canadians see it as one of the top issues the country is facing. And they're feeling the pain, whether it's their mortgage payments are going up or their rent and their cost of rent is going up every month. So I think there is quite a big issue that people are seeing with kind of housing affordability in Canada. So I think approaching that and finding a way to find solutions or present solutions maybe, and I think that's what the Conservatives are seeing, is that this might be a path for us to kind of earn over people's support, whereas the Liberals are kind of in a position where they're like, okay, we need to do something on this file to kind of fight back against that. And you saw kind of Sean Fraser getting appointed as minister on that file as somewhat of a kind of a new face to kind of approach it and see if he can find some solutions. So they do, both parties do seem to be addressing it, and Canadians do seem to be feeling the pinch there.
When are you going to be polling Canadians next again?
Well, we have more data. The Premier's release is part of a quarterly file that we do. So that has a bunch of data that we haven't released yet. So we'll have updated federal voting numbers kind of over the next month or so. So we should have a couple more reports before the end of the year that will release some more data from this latest round of polling.
John, thanks for hopping on this morning. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Elias.
That's John Rowe, Research Associate at the Angus Reid Institute.